You're muted.
We can't hear you.
Oh, so you hear me out? Sorry about that. It's Wednesday, and it's time for Pop and Politics. We are talking about the latest in hot topics, news, and entertainment. I'm KJ, and let me introduce you to my co-hosts. We have Shelly E., Yana, Colleen, and Maverine is back with us again tonight. T is away, but she will be back next week. Join the conversation by leaving a comment on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter. We will check the comments periodically throughout the show. And don't just comment, subscribe. Subscribe to our social media so you always know when we post new content. Also, if you like independent media and want to support what we do, donate. Any amount is appreciated. You can check us out and donate on our website at www.metroconservativemedia.com. Again, we are a necessary voice in news and entertainment. All right, ladies, let's set it off. So we are going to get right into it. We are starting tonight with Jessie Lee Peterson. And what I have to say is not amazing. Jessie Lee Peterson has been a popular speaker at 21 Summit events since 2020, giving a total of 5 speeches across all 3 of their conferences, including the 22 convention, Make Women Great Again. He's also a self-proclaimed Christian pastor and has been a popular radio call-in show host for north of 30 years, right in California. He operates a 501c3 nonprofit religious organization called Bond and 2 YouTube channels, each with over 300,000 subscribers. Now, 21 Summit released a documentary called Amazing Disgrace, detailing the accounts of 4 accusers on camera, one of which is an alumni of 21 Summit attendee. As a lifelong homosexual and groomer, sexual predator. Is our beloved Jessie in a fallen state? Take a look. Take a look at this clip that we have.
So Friday afternoon, evening, I go to Jesse's house and I am sitting in his couch, relaxing. You know, I'm kind of avoiding the LA traffic at the peak hour. So it's a good deal, and I get to stay somewhere with someone that I respect, friend. So then, by this point, we're already real comfortable with like hugging and all that stuff. You know, just hugging for long periods of time. I thought nothing weird of it. I guess my guard had already been let down completely. So I'm sitting in this couch. He kneels down in front of me, and then he wraps himself around his arms around my waist, and I'm like, okay, this is kind of weird, but I'm like, Jesse, why are you doing that? He's like, I just love you so much. And I'm like, okay, I guess. I was just like this. So then he starts rubbing my thighs, and I'm like, okay, what is he doing? Like, it's kind of crazy. And then he starts rubbing my genital area, and I'm like, what's happening right now? And then he pulls down my pants, and then I'm like, I'm shocked. I'm not saying anything. I'm like, my face is like, whoa, what the hell is happening right now?
From there, Jesse instructed Samuel to go into his so-called meditation called the silent prayer.
And he's like, doubt all thoughts are lies. Everything Satan is telling you is a lie. And I'm like, okay. But inside it's telling me, hey, this is not good. What are you doing? What are you allowing him to do?
Samuel describes Jesse abusing the supposed meditative state, trying to convince Samuel to ignore the traumatic sexual experience occurring.
It went on for a few minutes. He would get up, walk away. I could hear him. I couldn't see him. Get up. He would get up, walk away. I could hear him get up, walk away, touch it, get up, walk away, touch it. And I was like, what the hell's going on? So then I opened my eyes, and then I'm like, what just happened?
All right, so I'm black. I'm a little slow, but this doesn't look good. I want to take it to you, ladies. I'll start with you, Shelly. Firstly, is this a valid claim? you saw the documentary or the expose. Is this a valid claim in your opinion?
Okay, this is how I'm going to answer it this way. I think it is outrageous that we are even talking about this foolishness.
All right. I want to move to you, Yana. What are your thoughts? Is this a valid claim?
Yeah, I do think it is. Well, because I watched the documentary, there was a part in the documentary also that made me believe that it was true when he was caught off guard when someone asked about it, and there was something about that matter, and he was really caught off guard. So I really do think it's true, and because he was so just obsessed with this idea of calling someone a beta male, or just really going really too hard on other men who may have different opinions than him. It just seemed like he was kind of overly anti anything that has to do with that type of lifestyle. So that kind of made me think that possibly it could be true.
All right. I want to go to you, Colleen. What are your thoughts on this? Firstly, do you believe this is a valid claim? That's the question.
I don't know. It's hard to say, but honestly, I mean, I really agree with Yana. I really think it's possible because of him getting caught off guard, and then also, I don't know. I feel like it says something about a guy that is like overly anti-gay, and then when these kinds of allegations come out about them, I mean, it could very, very well maybe to smear him, but I don't know. I don't know. I'm kind of leaning towards more it's possible.
All right. What about you, Maverine? Do you believe this is a valid claim that this expose is making?
It's hard to say simply because I'd never heard of the man.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
I had no idea who he.
Wow. I came across him in like 2016, 17, actually. And I liked him at the time because I came across him when I saw him actually speaking at different events where he was being invited, and he talked about Black Lives Matter, and he was anti the movement, and he was saying that it's not racism that is necessarily holding people back, it's the culture. So he was really kind of going hard on the culture that is holding people back, that they're not trying hard enough, that they're always complaining about something outside of them that's holding them back. So that's how I came across Jesse Lee Peterson. And then later I saw his show, and I mean, I thought the show was really theatrical. Like, I thought he was just over the top because that was just his style.
As I mentioned, he's been around for 30 years.
Yes.
I'm going to just provide you guys with, we may have people watching who may not be familiar with him, but some of the statements he's made over the past 30 years, he comes off as a Christian, conservative, men's rights. I don't know if I would say Manosphere, if he's part of the Manosphere, but he is a men's rights advocate. Some of the things he's said in the past, he bizarrely believes that any woman that is climaxing is becoming a man because it's not normal for women to do that. That was a quote. In 2012.
Crazy. I'm sorry.
It's okay. In 2012, during a web sermon broadcast by his ministry, Bond, he said, "I think that one of the greatest mistakes that America made was to allow women the opportunity to vote. We should have never turned it over to women."
Right.
He's also
like Yana, I've been knowing about Jesse Lee for 20-something years or more. I don't follow him. I think he has really gone, if you want to use the word fringe, per Kelly Schultz. I think he has. But why do I think this is outrageous that we are talking about this? Because number one, the documentaries that I saw, they were grown men. I don't care what he does with grown men, wherever he does it, in private. I'm not interested in his sex life.
No, let me stop you right there.
Well,
First of all, it
is a big deal.
Men. He had a bond house for men who have been abused, who have substance abuse.
You said men.
So what? It's still men
who
are damaged.
Right.
These men are damaged.
and he
so
might he's probably
that's why
damaged too. But
sometimes it's kind of plausible that this could have happened because you can obviously see these men are damaged. And
people put anything on the internet. I'm not saying these men are lying or not. I don't know. But just because a studio or anybody puts anything up nowadays, it's supposed to be taken as fact only because some of us agree with what they're saying. Because we don't, just because it confirms our bias. No, I'm not going to. I don't know if he does that or did those things or not. But just because something confirms my bias doesn't make it true. Incredible.
Let's take a look at this clip we have. I want to play Yana's clip here.
This isn't even the first incident. Jesse was embroiled in a homosexual scandal in October 2020, after his Twitter account liked a gay pornography image. After the tweet was left up for hours, Jesse's account was immediately locked down and set to private. One caller on his daily JLP show broadcast tried asking him about it, and Peterson hung up on him.
Did you lock your Twitter account because you got caught liking a gay OnlyFans post?
Amazing. Do you think I handle my own Twitter stuff?
Oh, somebody else did it? How come you locked the account?
None of your business. What the? Are you a homosexual or something?
No, but it doesn't really
why
matter.
Are you such a beta male? What, you know all that stuff that's going on is not real, but you're being a girl right now. What making you be a girl right now?
There's nothing wrong with it, Jesse.
There's nothing wrong with you being a girl?
They were in.
Goodbye.
Again, so I have one.
That's
word.
when I believed
word.
that it was true. He really didn't know what to say.
I want to talk about. I want one word: beta. All this running that he is doing is confusing me. He's the ultimate alpha. You know, as he mentioned, he's always talking about he's alpha. He's always preaching about
alpha with other men.
Only betas run. Why is he running from these allegations? Why isn't he standing up to it and confronting it? You know, he was confronted they have him on video running from people wanting to confront him about these allegations. What's going on?
Why does anybody have to spend their time running or defending any allegations from many people? Again, I don't know if these things are true or not, but if I had a platform or anybody, why should I have to spend my time defending allegations that maybe
spoke against gay
why? I
people
don't have to do that.
lot.
That's not how you want to spend your time.
He really spoke against homosexuality. Like that was his platform.
Yeah.
So is it just me, or is it the fact that if he has professed himself as a Christian pastor, and we hear all of these issues and corroborated reports of so-called Christian, because we know everyone who says they are not, pastors raping children, molesting women and boys. Again, I'd never heard of the man, and had I not heard that he identifies as a pastor running a ministry, and now he potentially is hurting men who are already damaged themselves. He's no different, ladies, than the predators that we're dealing with inside the school system. The fact that he has a social media platform and 600,000 followers doesn't make the predatory behavior any different. And if we tolerate it from him, what makes us any better in saying we won't tolerate it from people inside the school system or inside of hospitals, etc.? So that's the thing for me. One, this man is not a Christian. Let me just be clear. And I know people like to say, oh, you can't judge. But the reality is, if you are a predator, if you are down low, if you are bashing people and killing them with your words every chance you get, but doing the exact same thing over and over and over and manipulating hurt people, you do not know Jesus. You are not a Christian. That's the issue for me. I don't really care about anything else.
Yeah, I agree. And also, somebody from my high school, his name is Brandon Robertson. He is a gay pastor, and he's into drag queen sermons and stuff too. He hosts that kind of stuff. So JLP had him on his show before. This is him, Brandon Robertson, and he was extremely mean to him. He was super, the ones of us that do know about Jesse, he was just typical Jesse. Like, why are you so blasphemous? Why do you gay stuff? Just how he is. And I saw that and I thought it was super distasteful. Brandon probably, we were friends on Facebook in the past. He unfriended me now, which I mean, I can kind of see why he did. After seeing all my statuses, he probably assumes that I don't agree with the stuff that he does, which is not true. I don't agree with having drag queens having sermons and stuff like that, but like I don't necessarily disagree with him being a gay pastor. But Jesse having him on the show in the way that he did was like so rude. And when these allegations came out, when this was brought to my attention, it's the first thing I thought of was Brandon.
Well,
and
like you mentioned, critical. I think that if somebody disagrees with a homosexual lifestyle, they have a right to say it. Like I wouldn't say that somebody is wrong to disagree with it or even make fun of it or make jokes about it. That's why we're able to say
and
that.
That's what he would do. He would be so
right.
He would just be
right. He was overly. But then that's why people are, laughing about this right now, because he would do all these things, say all that stuff, and then turn around and do the same thing that he was speaking against.
Like, I don't even understand why gay people call into his show, because I think he is over the top or rude, and he's
not
demeaning
necessarily
to them.
gay people call him.
I mean, I'm
he
just
has
saying
a lot of like Democrats call him.
Yeah, but he's rude to them. He dehumanizes them. Yeah. Anybody, and he has to me, he has a vendetta or an agenda out against gay people in particular. So that's what I'm saying. I mean, I don't.
Well, he would say things about women too, like what KJ was saying. Like, I mean, the fact that he said that a woman shouldn't climax, that obviously he's gay because maybe he's not able to. And then he also would say things like, a woman needs to obey her husband. Like he would keep repeating that, like as if it's like like scripture. But he was like obsessed with that concept. But then he didn't have a wife.
Yeah.
Sometimes the thing that you hate most, or the thing that controls you most, are the things that you project your hatred on most, right? So exactly. He might hate the fact that he is gay, and so he manifests that in this over-the-top hatred of homosexual people. And because he would like to not have that issue, because there's self-hatred, it also manifests in him hating women. It's interesting. I did this training for human trafficking before, and he's about 50 years old now. Unfortunately, from the time that he was 4 years old, he was sold by his mother to men. And he said to me, or he said to us in this training, there were hundreds of us, he said, the nastiest, most hurtful, most violent customers were Christian men. And that's because they know that it's wrong, but they have this impulse. And so they project that anger and that hate on the very thing that they think is controlling them.
Right.
It's
a psychological thing. It's similar to the Oedipus Electra psychological syndrome that's popular. That's a popular theory. But Maverine, something you said earlier about, in particular, I think you said Christians, but guess what? There are many people, unfortunately and sickeningly so, that wear the title pastor, minister, that have been accused and have been proven to have sexually abused many people in their congregations. You don't hear much about that. And these are not Catholic priests. These are on the Protestant side where this happens a lot.
Yeah. I mean, one thing again, we don't know if these are accusations. We don't know if they're true. This is just their word against Jesse Lee Peterson's. We can, however, listen to, we have clues, listen to these people, see if their statements make sense and things like that. One thing that struck me was one of the main accusers, Rooney, was his best man at his wedding. So they had been friends for many years. They were they were also business partners. And so that kind of gave me some legitimacy there. He came out to his wife, and then coming out to his wife, he mentioned that he had been sleeping with Jesse Lee Peterson. So that was one thing. Another thing that kind of struck me throughout the expose was the photo of him hugging the guy. So I think that was Rooney hugging him from behind. His eyes were closed. That just didn't look like something that a righteous man would do. This one, I don't know. That struck me as kind of suspect. I mean, again, so to me, you couple all of this together.
Yeah, and when you have these people, I mean, the thing is that they are Christian men, and there's something, you know, that like Marvarine was saying, they do believe that these things are wrong. So even though they might have these desires, they do not want somebody who they trust coming to them and, I guess, encouraging or pushing them towards that path when they actually do not want that. Logically, they would rather not go that direction. So that's where, I guess, his crime is that he would get into their comfort zone and then push them into, you know, life of sin, basically.
Yeah, well, I want to look at some of the comments we have here. So I think we've mentioned this. Denise for Trump says, not a clue about his guilt or innocence. I don't have enough information to give my opinion. Definitely not a fan of his views nor demeanor. So she says again, insightful Maverine. Let's see here. We have Tyrone Keys of he has a financial show. Oh my God, now the name. Help me, somebody.
Money.
Soldiers of Finance. Soldiers of Finance.
Oh, yes.
Yes, he is on here the last Wednesday of each month talking about finance and economics. So definitely check him out. Also on YouTube at Soldiers of Finance. He mentions if Gloria Allred shows up, it's a wrap for JLP. That may be true. So,
honestly, I mean, because I used to like JLP until this information came out, because, you know, I don't know. I especially, like I said, the way he treated Brandon, I didn't like it. So I looked at him a little bit differently after these allegations, just because the way he's treated gay people, you know?
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people do. Again, these are allegations. Nothing has been proven at this time. He has not ever addressed them. So we will continue to follow this story. No matter where it leads, I hope it leads to justice and God reveals truth throughout it all. Because one thing, the men in the documentary, especially the one that we showed, they just looked very uncomfortable talking about it. You could tell they had been through, some rough times. And
yeah, like, I don't feel like men lie about this as easily as a woman would, just because it's so, I mean, I'm not saying that like women easily lie about it, but I'm saying that like it's super embarrassing for a man to be like, I was sexually assaulted by another man, as opposed to a woman saying that she was assaulted by a man, or even a woman. I don't know. I just feel like because of the way that society will look at a man and be like, oh, dude, you're gay. Even if you didn't feel that way, even if you weren't on board with it, the shame for men is a lot higher. I feel like
they were violated.
I guess you all have never heard of human beings, just human beings. And unless you all have never heard of Photoshop or anything like that. Again, I don't know if these are true or not. I honestly don't care ultimately, because these were adults in whatever they were doing.
Wait a minute.
I mean, a woman is an adult too, and she can be violated.
So adults can't be violated?
No, they're not, because they're not saying, at least what I heard in the documentary, the ones that I saw, none of them said that they were forced or coerced. They didn't say that. They did say they had relationship or whatever, intimate relationship with Jesse Lee Peterson, but they did not say that they were forced. That's what I mean when I say that they were adults. That's what I'm saying.
I guess. I mean, he was definitely seen to them. You can obviously see as a mentor, as their pastor, as their spiritual leader. There's some type of, to me, they were already damaged and abused in the past.
If that's the case, I agree with you there. If that's the case, I agree with you that there could be that abuse there between a pastor and the congregants. I agree with you. I'm just saying that I'm not just going to take it at face value that this is automatically the truth because it's a documentary.
Why would they want to talk about it?
Because people lie. Money could be involved. I'm not saying they are or not. I don't know. I'm just saying, but people do lie, and they can lie, especially if money is involved.
I mean, for men, especially Christian
I don't
men, to
care if
show
they're men
their
or women, they can
face
lie.
like
People
no,
lie.
that's
Human
a
beings can
big
lie.
deal. It's totally different from a woman.
Human beings
Totally
can
different.
lie. Men are humans and so are women, and they
Most
can
men
lie.
do not lie about these things.
Men and women can lie. Put money in the pot, enough money, and people can lie.
All right. Well, we will continue to follow this story and see where it leads. We'll continue to follow the story. So join the conversation by leaving a comment on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter. We will check the comments periodically throughout the show. Also, subscribe to our social media so you always know when we post new content. Check us out on our website at www.metroconservativemedia.com for up-to-date information. Again, we are a necessary voice in news and entertainment. All right, so we are moving right along to our pop-off round. This is where I ask each co-host to pop off on a trending topic and provide reaction in 30 seconds or less. All right, so tonight we're starting with you, Yana.
Okay.
Take a look here at, let me see one second. Yes, take a look here at this clip, please. This is of The View.
Podcast host and writer Solomon Bucci posted a tribute to his fiancée that caused a backlash on social media. It reads, "Not the most beautiful woman, neither are you the most intelligent woman, but I've chosen never to find perfection in anyone else." He later clarified it by saying, "It may not sound like a compliment, but it's a realistic base for love." And I get it, because people will say to you, "Oh, that's not the most beautiful woman. You could be with some," and he's saying, she's not the most beautiful, not the brightest either, but I love her.
You know what it reminds me of?
I didn't think it was a bad thing.
I hate it. It reminds me of that Rodgers and Hart song, My Funny Valentine.
Yeah.
The most insulting song I've ever heard. Your looks are laughable, unphotographable.
Yeah.
Is your figure less than Greek? Is your mouth a little weak? When you open it to speak, are you smart? You know what? Sod off, as the Brits say.
Yeah.
You know what? That's
What?
an insulting song. It's a nasty little song. I hate that song.
Yeah.
Was that for me or?
No, so that is for Shelly. I wanted to get a little bit more of the clip, but that's fine.
Oh.
So, Shelly, just to give you some background, that is, this basically was a viral video that they were going to do. A Nigerian speaker and life coach shared the post about his fiancée on Instagram. He intended to express his love for her, but many of his followers have taken issue with his choice of words. You're not the most, and you saw what he said.
I saw the post.
Okay, so I wanted to get your thoughts on this, and then also the comments that were made by The View. I mean, Sunny had a real nasty.
Oh, and I didn't see her comments.
Okay, all right. So, just what are your thoughts on this?
So when I first saw it and I heard saw the post, I was like, that's kind of awkward. It was kind of awkward. But when I found out that he was Nigerian or African, I may not have the right country in Africa, but maybe it was a language barrier or, a language translation. But at the bottom line, I would have told the fiance, you might want to wait a while before you take those vows.
Okay. All right. Well, you actually agree with Sunny then, because that's basically what she kind of said.
Oh my gosh!
In reference to the topic. So
call 911. I'm having a heart attack.
All right. So we are moving right along. Wanted to play this clip about Brittany Griner. Do we have that clip available? Here. Oh, okay. Let me see here. All right, we'll move along to Maverine. Take a look at this clip. Do we have this clip available?
Parents of America, this is something you need to hear from a former public school teacher. In my district, there was a teacher that called home and used the new pronoun and name that was being used on the school campus. This child had changed their gender at school, and when the teacher called home, they used the new pronoun and name. The parent did not recognize who that child was and had no idea that their name and pronouns were changed at school. Because of this incident, our administration instructed us to not tell parents when a child changes their pronouns or changes their gender at school. And considering that they are pushing on our kids the idea that there are 50 plus genders, this is alarming. It's time to pull your kids from public schools. I opened my own online school to help you do that. You can check it out at thinkexodus.org.
All right. So, Maverine, my question to you is she overreacting? Is this something parents should actually be alarmed about?
She is not overreacting. She's actually pretty calm. And it is absolutely something that parents should be aware is already happening. I happen to have some curriculum, some training for educators in Howard County Public Schools. This is not anything that's available to the public, but I was able to receive it, and it tells what the teachers are being instructed to do. And it starts with, or the title of the training is Safe Space, and it is affirming and supporting LGBTQIA+. And it's for staff and students, and they're 4 modules, so they go through multiple hours. And what it essentially says to the instructors is what you say here stays here, but what's learned here leaves here. And I've sat in rooms on policy committees where they've talked about the importance of keeping those gender transitions different. They have 2 separate files for students, one with the name that is their God-given name from their parents, and the other file with their desired name and pronoun. And the teachers and instructors are trained and even threatened that if they disclose that child's information even to the parents, they are somehow violating that child's personal information, personal identifiable information, which is extreme. So these things are already happening in practically every school district, certainly here in Maryland, and we have proof that it is so.
All right. All right.
I just want to add to that today I learned that Montgomery County in Maryland approved a book for it's like a kindergarten, 1st grade book called Gay BCs. And that teaches kids about bi, like B is for bi, T is for trans, G is for gay. It's just crazy. It's really sad.
So, all right. We're moving right along to Colleen. So out in Arizona, Trump-backed gubernatorial candidate Kari Lake has shocked the GOP establishment with a brash campaign, and it appears she will win the Republican gubernatorial primary against Corinne Taylor Robson. The race has pitted Trump against his former wingman, Vice President Mike Pence, who campaigned for Robson on the same day Trump held a rally with Lake. So I know, Colleen, you were or are a big supporter of Kari Lake. Lake has fiercely pushed the claims of widespread election fraud and broken electoral systems that stole the election from President Trump in 2020. Now, she has not brought forth any evidence of her claims yet. But my question to you is, why should people vote if, according to Kari Lake, a nationwide election can be stolen?
Mm-hmm. Evidence of her claims can be found in the Maricopa County audit that was done last year. So I urge anybody who has never seen that to definitely go check out that presentation that was done by, what was the name of that company? Something Ninjas, Cyber Ninjas, I believe it was. But they did a whole presentation on it and explained what their findings were, and it was pretty profound.
They show that there's a nationwide election stolen.
They showed that in Maricopa County, which is the most populated county in Arizona, that there was significant fraud found. Literally ballots re-entered through the machine multiple times for Biden. I mean, if you go through, they have a whole presentation on it. They brought all
did they present this to because this is a crime.
Right. It was not presented to, it was not aired on CNN. It was not aired on MSNBC.
Did they take it to authorities? Has this been brought to authorities?
Yeah, it has. But I mean, Arizona has a very Democrat stronghold over the people who are in charge of the election system. I mean, that's why they were able to somehow Arizona, which originally went for Trump in the previous election, somehow went for Biden with no campaign or anything, all these crazy MAGA rallies and everything. And somehow they went to Biden. So yes, I am a happy election denier. I do not believe that Biden is a true president. I believe.
So let me ask you this: so then, why should people vote? Because if I believe what you're saying,
right,
I wouldn't vote. I wouldn't vote. I would forget the whole election system. If the country can be stolen and the president is not the correct president, why should I even participate in the election process?
Well, that's definitely something she campaigns on, is fixing the electoral system in Arizona. And one of my main things that I back her for so much, even though I'm not even an Arizona resident, but her stance on the border is so important. She's going to be a governor of a border state that is literally being invaded right now. So it's so important that if you're a governor of a border state, that you're not an idiot. So I'm happy.
All right. Moving right along here. Let me see here. To Yana. I'm not sure. Do we have that clip up for Yana?
You can't help but put yourself in the shoes of the family that's waiting for their loved one to come back.
Right. If you're the girl's mother, you're saying, I don't care.
If you're anyone that loves them, you can't put a value on that life. It is not politically an equal trade, but it kind of optically tells you all you need to know. You've got a WNBA player who had some cannabis oil vape cartridges, by the way, diagnosed by something with her doctor. That was all.
Yeah.
Paul Whelan, a former Marine, there to help with a wedding. Then you've got the merchant of death.
Yeah.
So like when you look at it, it tells you everything you need to know. This guy was serving 25 years. He was at one point seen as the world's biggest weapons smuggler. Like, this is a bad deal.
How much time has he served already? Do you know?
15 years.
Yeah.
He served already 15.
But the thing that's important to remember about this, does it make us uncomfortable? Yes. Prisoner swaps in general do, because these are two good Americans that we're getting out in exchange for this evil person. But it's a reminder that Vladimir Putin is an enemy and that Russia is at active aggression against our ally, Ukraine. And this is a scary time we live in. We've all said at this table, Brittany Griner needs to come home, and I pray that this works out. But I also hope once they hopefully both do, we don't forget about the people of Ukraine who are suffering at the hands of this barbaric, evil man.
That's true.
All right. So I want to, this is kind of a two-part question for you, Yana. So firstly, do you think the prisoner swap of Brittany Griner and Paul Whelan in exchange for a Russian arms dealer is a good swap? And then secondly, do you agree with Alyssa Farah Griffin's comments about keeping Vladimir Putin in mind as an enemy in Russia's active aggression against U.S. ally Ukraine and the people that are suffering? So I wanted you to kind of comment on that, on both Brittany Griner's situation and then that last comment that was made by Farah Griffin's.
Well, first of all, I don't think Russia agreed to the swap. Is that right?
I'm not sure if it's an actual go yet, but my question to you is: do you think it should
happen? Do I think it should happen? I kind of don't really care. Like, I really don't care what they decide on these. I mean, I don't know too much about the two guys that they want to give back to Russia. I mean, if Russia wants to take them and process them and have, trial for them over there, so if that's what they want to do, that's fine with me. Because I don't think they were acting on behalf of any particular state. I think they were just smuggling and they were criminals. So have them tried in a different country, in their own country. And Brittany, I mean, I don't like to see people held up in jail. So, I mean, if they decide something to swap her, I don't care either way. Also, I just want to mention that I watched things on her from what Russia reports, and there's a lot of things that we do not see. So she has regular contacts with the American consulate. The consulate comes to her prison all the time, discussing things with her and advising her on how to go on with this situation. She has free time. Not free time, but she has like exercise time because she's an athlete, so they let her have that. So she is not being mistreated, and that is not shown anywhere in America. I hope that they will process her according to the law. Like, she broke a law of that country, so she needs to be processed. And if they decide to swap her for someone, and if Russia decides that that's a fair swap for them, then why not? In terms of what that lady said, that's a complete nonsense, and she has no idea what she's talking about. She is talking about ally. So first of all, America was making money on Ukraine. American politicians were making money on Ukrainian people. Like, we know about Hunter Biden, who was on a board of directors of an energy company in Ukraine and was making money off of it. Also, she does not know about people of East Ukraine that were being killed since 2014. So how about those Ukrainians? Is she going to talk about those Ukrainians, and who is going to protect them? That's all I have to say to her.
All right. All right. So, again, join the conversation by leaving a comment on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter. We will check the comments periodically throughout the show. Do you have a question that you'd like to hear answered by one of the co-hosts? Email me, kj@metroconservativemedia.com. I will ask the co-host your question during next week's pop-off. All right. So moving right along, we're moving to California Bill SB 107. So if California Bill SB 107 becomes law, as the bill currently stands, California could become a sanctuary state for minors wanting puberty blockers and sex change surgery, even without parental consent. In short, a trans-identifying child unable to receive hormone treatments or undergo irreversible sex change surgery in the state in which they live would be able to flee to California and be treated under the protection of that state. So let's talk about the ramifications right here in Maryland. Parental rights are under attack. Courts would also be instructed to ignore the fact that a child has been kidnapped from the parent or parents with legal custody if the minor comes to the state for gender transitioning. So I want to ask you all this. What can be done about this? How did we end up here where we are making sanctuary states? That's actually the first question. And I want to take this to you, Maverick.
Their coordinated and planned effort to completely eradicate everything that makes sense. The reality is, though, for Maryland, the youth might not have to run to California, because in Maryland, inside the school system, and I like to keep it based on what's happening so that the viewers will know how to get involved and how to stop this. There was a Senate bill, and it's Senate Bill 404. It was written to expand the health centers inside of the public school system to mandate that there is a medical physician there or a registered nurse. In many counties, there was this uproar just a couple of years ago where they were demanding additional medical staff. We'll correlate that with the fact now that we know they're teaching parents or teaching teachers and counselors to not tell if they want to gender transition. They want to be able to give them these hormone therapy drugs, and you need a medical professional to do so. They have everything in place to do what's necessary. And so if there's anything I can say tonight is we need to take the word extreme away from the Democrats. When they say that Dan Cox, for example, is too extreme for Maryland, we need to define extreme for what is. It's extreme to want to rape children It's extreme to want to cut off their genitals and not let their parents know. It's extreme to want to kidnap them and take them across state lines. It's extreme to want to give pedophiles free access to them. It's extreme to want to murder babies even after they're 28 days old. Democrats are extreme, and Maryland is already a sanctuary state for many of those extreme things.
All right. I want to go to you, Yana. Now you heard what Maverine mentioned about what is going on now in Maryland, in California. How did we get here? Because this was not the way even 10 years ago, I would say. How did we get to this point?
Well, I think it took some time for sure. But one thing that I just thought about it very recently, because I was looking at the commandments, the 10 commandments, and the first commandment is you should not have any other gods but me. So what that really means is doesn't necessarily mean like don't be polytheistic. It means do not worship or take something more important than God himself. So it could be another person, it could be an idea, or it could be government in this case. So this made me think of how did we get here, is that a lot of people, even if they consider themselves believing Christian or of other religions, and they think they believe in God and they think they're following the first commandment, but they actually put the government before their beliefs, and they opened the door to things into this country that should have never been allowed. And I'm talking about the first that what happened that we have gay marriage, we have this complete openness for something that majority of this country actually believed that was a sin. So you put the government before your beliefs, before your God. That's what happened.
All right. I want to move on to you, Shelley. I'd like you to respond to what Yana said about most of us putting government before our God. What are your thoughts there when that being a reason of how we got to where we are with this situation?
If I had one word to say how we got here, I think I would use the word ingratitude. And what I mean by that is that as a country, as a people, we have become ungrateful and unappreciative for what we actually have in being Americans, in our republic, the republic and the Constitution that was bequeathed to us by our founders, founded on Judeo-Christian principles. Many of us, and I'm saying collectively, many of us have believed or maybe disbelieved that what meaning really is. We have forgotten that we, the people, have more power and power for our country than the government does. We are the ones who get to determine, and based on a set of principles that we have long ago given up, maybe almost completely in some cases. So I think we have become an ungrateful nation to say that, heck, we don't need these things. These things are no good. Our founders didn't know any better. They were from another time. They didn't have the knowledge that we have today. Well, where has that knowledge, that so-called enlightenment, gotten us when we now believe, and many of us, again, collectively subscribe to the idea that children can be taken by the state? At one time in our country, this would have caused so much uproar, okay, to say that the state can demand or agree or subscribe to your children having surgeries of any kind of procedures without their parents. This would not have stood, decades ago, centuries ago in our country. So we have become ungrateful, and in doing so, we have forgotten many things that we need to have and should have stood on.
Yeah. All right. What are your thoughts on this, Colleen? How did we get here in this situation where your child can be taken to another state without your permission and basically have their genitals chopped off?
Well, luckily in the great state of Florida, they're going to be passing bills to help kids that do get in a situation like this. And if they do regret it as an adult, they can sue that doctor. So I feel like California is going to have to change pace once that bill is like ironed out in Florida, because how is that going to work if people are going to go from Florida to California and these California doctors are going to get sued once they turn into adults? Because almost everybody who gets, especially the bottom surgery, because it's not properly done, the technology is just not there yet. So people who get bottom surgery almost always regret it because they can't even pee properly afterwards. So if you're going to have bills in other states that are going to say, well, as soon as you're an adult, if you regret that transition you had as a child, California is definitely going to be in big trouble. So if they want to do that, they can go right ahead. I'm sure a lot of red governors are going to follow behind and just try to pass similar things to Florida, who are going to basically just protect the children who don't know better, who really don't. So,
well,
I
pray we have some red governors left. What were you saying, Maverine?
I wanted to just interject. There is no way to do it properly. There is no technology that can ever do that properly. Right. We are born with what we are intended to have, unless, of course, you are an hermaphrodite or something like that, right? And there are very, very, very few of those who are born that way. So there is no technology, and we need to stop trying to make rational things that are irrational and delusional.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Teach your children you're born with what you're supposed to have. No one should touch it. No one can cut it off. You cannot decide what you are. God has already decided.
Mm-hmm. And I have a question. How is it? I'm sorry. I have a question. And then this is just a rhetorical question. How is it that in Africa, where they perform genital mutilation, how can we say that they are doing something wrong, immoral, egregious, and yet we have the doctors, people of the highest educational, supposedly stature, come here and want to chop and lop off healthy organs on particularly young people, let alone the adults who might.
That's a really good point, because I know that people on the left really spoke against what was being done to girls in Africa. And they were saying how that's a violation of their rights. And then we have it's like we have another religion. They do it because of religious or cultural reasons. We have here in America now, we have a new culture that encourages those kind of things.
Yeah, and speaking of that, I mean, I've listened to everyone talk about how we got here, but I think we are the reason why we're here. And when I say we, I mean conservatives who are, and when you say conservatives, I'm not even talking about Republicans. I'm talking about conservatives who believe in traditional marriage, traditional gender roles, Christians who believe in the biblical gender roles of man and of woman. We are the reason we are here, because there are not enough people standing up against this and speaking out. And this should have been something that happened a long time ago. We have totally just let go of what's going on in schools. We have totally let go of what's going on in government. And we have pretty much handed it over to these, and I'll say lunatics. And now they are out and about and just ruining everything. And they've brought this to the mainstream. And it's people on our side that have not stood up against this enough, have not spoken up against this enough, have said, you know what, they want to do this, that's them, this doesn't affect me. And guess what now is happening? It is affecting all of us, because they are trying to push this mainstream. So it's time for people to start standing up and talking about this. Thanksgiving, Christmas, at the dinner table, people in the churches, we need to start talking about this.
And that should be brought to legislators. I mean, there should be laws. The thing is that I had a transfer, kind of evolution of my views, because I was a lot more liberal. I did not talk against homosexuality at all. In fact, I thought that they have a right as anybody else to do whatever. And I remember in 2013, it was Russia passed a anti-homosexual propaganda law. So the law is that you cannot have any type of materials when it comes to homosexuality promoted to children. So anywhere where children might be present, you cannot have any type of homosexual material speaking about it. And I remember I didn't like that at the time. Like, I thought it were oppressing a very small minority of the country. And then I changed my mind about this law. Like, I have to say, they saw things, what was happening, because even in Russia, things were being pushed, like homosexual material, images were being pushed in the media. It was open, people could talk about it openly regardless of who is listening. And they put a ban on it. I mean, it doesn't mean that you cannot be a homosexual over there. There are actually gay bars there. You can live if you are transgender. I mean, no one's gonna put you in jail for it.
But hands off our children, right?
Exactly.
Hands off of our children. And that Vladimir Putin, and even, the one that kind of was his pretend head of Russia before Vladimir was returned, they weren't afraid to be disliked when it comes to children. Hands off of our children. We, on the other hand, and I do say we, us collectively, we were so concerned about being called homophobic or being called biased or racist or just mean-spirited, that we have quite literally opened our children's bedroom doors and let this wickedness inside their doors to take our children from us. So that now we have superintendents of school systems, we have legislators, we have police officers, police chiefs, sheriffs, we have all county executives. We have them talking at us about our children being their property and them knowing better for our children than we do. And everything they want for our children is extreme and is vile. Again, it's past the point of talking. It really is. There's so much legislation in every state, even here in Maryland, that they already have things in place to do exactly what they want when they want to. And we have allowed it to go unchecked. So we have to stand up, we have to vote, and we have to, even outside of that, just be ready to civilly resist. Civil unrest is necessary for our children.
Absolutely. I want to go to some of these comments because we have several here. So let me see here. Denise for Trump says, if this bill passes, there should be a massive exodus by conservative families and prayers for those who stay. Absolutely. I know it was supposed to be brought up today, I believe. So we have to check on that and see what was the outcome. I have here Linda McCall. I would be willing to bet the national anthem would sound pretty good to Brittany Griner right now. Oh, yeah. Well, she was here protesting everything but. So sometimes God shows you.
I want Brittany Griner free, man. All she did was smoke some weed. Free Brittany Griner. Poor girl. Honestly.
She want to smoke weed. Don't do it in Russia.
Right. Like, come on, girl. And traveling with it. My God.
Well, apparently, I don't want to go into that. Apparently, she said she had some type of health condition or something.
Oh, my God.
No, she said she didn't know she had it with her. That was her defense, is that she put it in the bag by accident and somehow she didn't know she had it.
Oh my gosh.
All right. Well, Tyrone, Shelley, one of the reasons the state can do this is because parents give their children to the state. Children spend more waking hours with the state than with their parents. That's true. That's true. I mean, that's kind of been the way all the time, though. I mean, when you think about it, when you being in school and you send your children to school and then they come home and then of course you have time with them at home, but the school day
But it wasn't always like that, KJ. It wasn't always like that. The school day, I mean, I know we have a different, we're in an industrial technological age, but in other times, children were with their parents most of the day. Why? Because their parents taught them most of the time. Then over time, they would have schoolhouses, but they were with the family. They were with the family unit, and in the community. The church was central in a lot of communities, yes, but those activities centered around still, reinforcing the values, the Judeo-Christian values of the family, of the community, so that children were inundated with those values, not the values outside the purview of their families.
Right. Parents, teachers were not activists.
Right.
Teachers were representing the community. They were helping the community teach the kids the skills that they need to survive. And they were not activists. Now that we have teachers coming from other places from around the world and thinking that they're changing the society. That's their goal at this point.
Well,
and ultimately, we went from the Hebraic educational system to the Greek educational system. And the Greek educational system is not rooted in the family, the traditional family as the center. And so all of that for us, particularly here in the United States, we can see it because we're still such a young nation, right? We initially started with a little bit more of a Hebraic educational system when the primary instruction was from the Bible. Mm-hmm. And then we started to morph into, as Shelley has said, this false enlightenment. And so we took on that Greek system, which gives our children to the state, because Rome and Greece had state above everything else.
Mm. And Shelley and I have talked about this in the past. We no longer share common moral and morality with our community. It used to be a time where your neighbors and the people around you all shared the same thinking on family. You shared the same moral compass on different situations. You went to the local church and things like that, or faith-based institution. Now, the only places you see that really are in the Jewish areas. They are all still homogeneous to the areas. Or even somewhat Muslim areas. But as far as communities, African American communities, I would say, I no longer share the same value system as the people who live near me in my community. It's not the same. And so that's why we talked about this last week. Used to be a time where you say, we're all Black and we think the same, we act the same. Not anymore. It's not that way anymore, and it's kind of sad. I would say it's kind of sad.
This reminds me of a story. It happened a few years ago in London, and maybe you know that London has a really big Muslim population, and they live in their community. So it's very packed with Muslims, and so their children go to the school. It's mostly Muslim kids there, and they were going to teach information about homosexuality, transgenderism. They were going to teach that to the kids because that is what they were doing to all British children, and parents protested. They had a huge protest outside of school, and they were protesting, I think, for a few days, and they stopped it. They said they were not going to do it because they said we're literally not going to send our kids to that school. Mm-hmm. So that community was able to do it.
Yeah, and KJ, I think it was Malcolm X. I may not be exact on that, but he was talking in reference to the Black community or the African American community. But something about the quote was that Black people were better off during segregation than they are since being integrated. So I think we may be able to apply that on a broader sense to our country, to American. We were better off when we said no, and we had our borders up. We had our guardrails up to other influences from Europe, from Germany, wherever. But now everything goes. Everything can come on in. Everything can, and everything is supposed to be okay, and it's not. There are consequences that we haven't thought about, that now we are reaping those consequences of these actions.
Yeah. All right, we have to move on. Join the conversation by leaving a comment on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter. We will check the comments periodically throughout the show. Also, subscribe. You're watching with us every week. You're commenting. Have you subscribed yet? Have you shared this broadcast? If you haven't, please do send a message on Facebook to one of your Facebook friends, or take the link off of YouTube and share it on your YouTube on your timeline here on your social media. Share, and subscribe. Again, you can check us out on our website at www.metroconservativemedia.com for up-to-date information. Again, we are a necessary voice in news and entertainment. And before we move on to our last topic of the night, I want to share with you guys, we're having a launch party. So here we are on the Metro Conservative Media news link. So we are having a launch party. Liberation kicks off on September 17th from 7 until 11 p.m. here in Baltimore. It's on the penthouse rooftop of 1 Light Street in downtown Baltimore. It's going to be a beautiful occasion, beautiful night. We'll have food, cocktails, music, dancing under the stars as we celebrate the official launch of Metro Conservative Media. And I'm just going to run down the list of food we're going to have for you guys, you foodies who love to eat like me. Fried chicken wings, fried fish, meatballs, seafood salad, mac and cheese, collard greens, cornbread. All this is catered by True to the Soul Catering, a local caterer here in Baltimore City, who is renowned for their food. So it's going to be a great event. Cash bar, live performances. We're also having a 360-degree spinner photo booth. I mean, this is going to be a night to remember. And it's free to come in. We're asking for donations, of course. Donations are welcome, but RSVP is required. So if you want to attend, you want to meet us, all of the personalities here on Metro Conservative Media, and then also other like-minded people within the conservative movement here in Maryland, D.C., and Virginia area, please come out. We would love to meet you. You go on to Eventbrite. You can the web page is mcmlaunch.eventbrite.com. So even if you don't remember that, you can go onto the Eventbrite website and you just search MCM. We come right up there, MCM Launch. So go.
Well, I gotta ask a question.
Sure.
So since I was told that I'm not Black, are you gonna have some food that I can eat?
I'm sorry. I was just
yeah, but this is soul food. This is comfort food. Comfort food.
I'm over here like vegetarian, like, what am I gonna eat?
And Colleen, I was actually thinking, what will Colleen eat?
Oh.
And I was also
vegetarian, Colleen.
I'll have salad.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Something. I always find something to eat.
Oh my goodness. Well, we are gonna have fruit salad. We'll have a fruit a salad.
I'll definitely find
We'll have
something.
a salad area. Collard greens, clean you
Ambrosia
out.
salad.
I eat fish. I'm a pescatarian, so I eat seafood.
Oh, good. That's why I have fish on the menu too.
It's some ambrosia salad.
Okay. Oh, I didn't even know you were vegetarian. That's why you got that nice figure. I need to be vegetarian again. Oh, God. All right.
It's hard.
Okay, so we're moving right along. Again, that's the event, September 17th. Come on out. Final topic of the night. Florida A&M University student Terica Williams says she recently graduated from the historically Black college with a 3.8 GPA, using thousands of dollars in scholarships. Williams states she now has her master's degree in counselor education and will be joining the 2% of Black therapists. While claiming all this, she also says clothes do not define you. She says, I've been dressing provocative my whole life. So this is what she had. She put this on this viral post. And basically, she's just saying, she should be able to dress any way she likes or not dress. But because she has this education and all of this, it shouldn't matter the way she looks, how provocative she dresses. it shouldn't matter. So my question, I want to open it up to you all. Are the standards of professionalism dead? Or is this another thing we're reimagining? What are your thoughts on this? I'll start with you, Shelley.
Okay. First of all, this has nothing to do with professionalism. This has to do with being assy and ass out, but not professionalism. Number one. Number two, this reminds me, I call it the modern version or the woke version of when the women burned the bras in the 60s, right? So now it's just, hey, take everything off. And number three, I would tell her to go back and check her MBA or whatever master's degree she has, because her English is not correct. She should say, I was dressed, or I've been dressing provocatively. So her degree is not even worth anything. Mind you, this has nothing to do with professionalism.
All right. I want to go right to you on this, Colleen. You are the youngest of us all. Well, I'm actually younger, so it would be me then you. But no, I'm joking. So you are the youngest of us all. What do you think of this? As a young professional, are the standards for professionalism dead because you got an education?
I guess so. But I was laughing because Shelley, I saw another grammatical error. It was like at the tender age of 24 instead of tender age. I couldn't stop laughing when we had that clip up. Yeah, I mean, professionalism really is different now. I mean, it does have kind of a woke flair to it in some senses, but not this much. Like, I don't think she's going to have any problem finding a job still, though. I think she'll be just fine.
Yeah. I mean, you couple this with the Me Too movement, and so on one hand they're saying Me Too, look at me, give me validation, I deserve to be taken seriously, and then we have this. So, what are your thoughts on this, Maverine? Are the standards of professionalism dead?
They aren't. The standards of professionalism are not dead. They are just, for some people, being redefined. Hopefully, we'll find the plumb line again, and there will be people who will pour into young ladies like her. I've known several people who attended and graduated from FAMU, and it's a very interesting kind of culture, an interesting thing that they come out of, and what they think is appropriate and what is normal for them, and what they thought was cool. And these are people that are my age and younger. So I think there's something to be said again for how much we have missed in the African American culture. Not, of course, that this isn't happening in other cultures, right? Because we know Kim Kardashian, for instance, and how she got her start. But I'm speaking to the fact that it just seems so far removed from anything that my mother or my grandmother would ever have allowed, or that I would ever have thought was okay. How did we get to the place where this young lady, who wants to now be a therapist for someone, defines herself by how much of her skin she shows, and then wraps herself in a picture with a king cobra snake and ensures that her hairstyle is Medusa-like? So there are things that are just very dark there, and she has no idea what she's playing with.
Yeah. You hit it right on the nose there, Maverine. And one thing that's leading to is this culture. Beyonce, look, she just put out a new album, and she has one of the songs on there, "Church Girl," and it's talking about this. The whole song is about a woman who is she talks about as church girl, and how she's really just leading to debauchery. She talks about show your skin, take off your clothes, dance. She's basically asking this church girl, who I guess was grew up in church, conservative, to be total opposite. Let it go, push it aside. So it's
really tragic, and it makes me think of the book that we keep talking about on the show, Color, Communism, and Common Sense. And when Marxism was infiltrated into the Black community. And this is what we are seeing with this manifestation of it. First of all, yeah, it's not a big deal to get 3.8 GPA on the counseling education. Like that's, it's not that hard, first of all. And second, I feel bad for women or people that she's going to counsel. So she's saying she's 2% out of, she joins the 2% Black therapist. And that is really sad that she's going to offer her services to the Black community. And this is the last thing that the Black community needs is a person like that. And where is she going to lead them? Like, she is a whore that got good grades. That's about it.
Okay. And see, now some of the comments that were online spoke to that. See, some people were saying, well, therapists separate their personal beliefs, personal life from the way they counsel.
So they don't. No, they don't. No, they don't. Because I was speaking to a therapist when I turned from Democrat to conservative. Now I feel like I don't need one. But I was seriously going through my walkaway with her. I didn't know she was a Democrat. And she was like, oh. And I was like, oh my God, you're one of them.
Oh,
you get rid of her. But I don't work with her anymore. But no, they definitely don't. Because look at how they transition kids and stuff. Like, they obviously have to have their personal beliefs, and to a certain extent, they definitely do implement it into their work. So they can't really separate it too much.
If they could, they would be a little bit loony. It's called dissociative disorder. If they could completely separate their work life or persona from who they are in their core and what they do, then they would be a little bit cray-cray and certainly should not be a therapist. So again, we have to get back to what's true and stop trying to make sense of things that are illogical.
Yeah. So one of the things that came to my mind as well, and we talked about this, I think, a little bit before, is that it seems to me that, at least with the Black community, we have taken on everything that is debauchery, that is low, and we try to elevate that. Whereas in previous times, our ancestors, it would be the total opposite. We were told, and again, I'm not saying this to be racist, but we were told, those white people over there do X, Y, Z. You don't do that. Black people don't do those things like that. Or this is what I was told when I was growing up, that because the white man did X, that Black people, you don't do that because what they're doing is wrong, it's not good, things like that. But now we have taken the most debauched things, the most, like you said, ratchet things, and elevate them, put a tag on it, or put a degree, and we think that's something to be cheering for.
Yeah. I totally agree there. I was told the same similar situations, and now when you hear it, the only thing that they do now is say, you can't do what this white person does because they're coming from money or they have privilege, so you can't do what they do. So now it's reversed. So before we were always told we were kind of above, our other races. Now it's, you are going to be seen as lesser than. So it's more of this victim mentality. It's really sad the way things have totally just went top.
Because they can keep attaching all of these things to the emotional baggage of African Americans. Mm-hmm. African Americans still have not forgiven people who have long since been dead for the slave trade. There's no person alive today who had us enslaved. Mm-hmm. But what the Democrats are great at doing is attaching every debauched thing. So gay marriage, it's a civil right, just like your civil rights, Black people. Help us fight for it. You be our pawns. You be our soldiers. You be our minions. Transgender, it's a civil right, just like your rights, Black people. Help us with that. Sanctuary, it's civil rights, just like your rights. And what I have an issue with is that we have been so easily manipulated because we ourselves refuse to forgive and let it go. Let it go, because that emotion is what they've been using to attach all of this to our backs. At the same time, they're using it to completely decimate our communities.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So KJ, I want to another thing I thought about. You mentioned Beyonce, I think, or someone else. So again, I'm going to say, we talked about this before as well. We collectively, we are the ones who are the consumers. We have paid for the Beyoncés and the other vulgar musicians and entertainers. We think it's, we get a kick out of. Again, I'm saying collectively but we get a kick out of it. We think that's entertainment and things like that. So I'm going to say some of the blame still lies with us.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, when you think about music and art and the progression of it, where we are today, it has taken a terrible turn. I am, I've always been, creative. I've always been more on the artsy side. Movies, music, that's just always been my thing. I love hip hop, original hip hop culture. I like it. But now this new hip hop we have out here where they're talking about drug use and killing and all this stuff, it's not even an art form anymore. I mean, I remember being in high school and college, and I would debate people, my peers on hip hop. You have some people would say, "Oh, it's trash," And I remember like yesterday talking to people, and I say, "No, look at this lyric, and you see how they put this here, and it's almost poetry, and it was poetry. You listen to Nas' old music, the way they put it together, and the flow, and the word use, and things like that, and the way they put it to music. To me, it was an art form.
Well, yeah,
and now.
And to add to what Shelley was saying, it's true that generally, collectively, we do hold responsibility for what is going on in our society. So like we were talking about how we do not like that we have all this propaganda, all this push on homosexuality and transgenderism, but we can also look at heterosexual people are not necessarily doing things right either. We have a lot of ratchetness, a lot of women who do not know how to dress, or they prefer to be like this lady that we were just talking about, and there are lots of women like that, and including actually within conservatives right now. So I was talking about this before, that we need to look at ourselves as well, and how we are modeling, what kind of behavior we're modeling to younger generations, because they're looking at us and they're just going to copy. So it's our lifestyle, how we live, who we live with, who we make children with, and how we dress and how we present ourselves. So if you want to create a better society, you have to look within yourself and project that to the world.
Yana, I disagree a bit there. I'm with you 99.9%, but I think a part of the issue is that we've started looking within ourselves too much, and we're circling the toilet drain.
No, I mean, look within yourself and fix whatever it is that you need to fix, and then present a better image. So there's lots of times, we talk about someone else not being perfect or not acting the way that we think they should act, but then are we perfect as well? So it's all about, thinking about how we affect the world around us.
I'm with you. It's that moral compass. Again, what is our due north, and what determines what's right and what's wrong? People hate to hear it, but there is right and wrong. There are no gray areas in reality. That gray area is a deceptive lie from the pit of hell. There's no gray.
Yeah, I mean, to me, the fringe or things that were done, I would say in the dark, are now becoming massive and just the normal. I mean, again, nobody is perfect. But back in the day when I used to come up, you had certain people that would, for instance, smoke weed. My parents, they smoked weed, but I never knew it. I didn't know that until I was an adult. We had cookouts, we had parties. And now that I think about it, I realize what was going on. but that stuff wasn't out in the open. I didn't start smell. Now you walk out the door or you go to a grocery store and weed is everywhere. You can't even drive down a street in Baltimore City without smelling marijuana. I mean, it's everywhere. Same thing with the way you dress and stuff. You know, you would have, you know, the older crowd or whatever used to, you know, dress a certain way if they were going out to a party or you going out, you know, in the night. But during the day, you going to work and stuff, there was a way of professionalism.
Right.
There was a line in all of this. The lines now have been blurred. There was a line between adult and child. Now you have these parents who want to party with the kids, who want to have the kids sitting in front of them smoking and drinking and all this type of stuff. All the lines have been blurred, and it's total chaos. It's total chaos.
Right. Because everyone, we've been told for so long to live your truth and come out of the closet. Well, everything doesn't need to come out the closet. Right, some things can stay buried. That's okay. Take them to the grave, like they used to say. Some things you just take to the grave. So, but you know, everybody's been told this. So,
yeah, I mean, I'm not advocating for the, you know, this type of stuff, but everything does not need to be for everybody. And maybe it's the advent of social media that's kind of flourishing this, because now people feel like they can show everything. They want you to see everything. So maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know.
And I think maybe it's also, for some people, it is like a mental issue. A lot of times I feel like for people that they're struggling with something, and they, instead of looking within and fixing whatever that issue is, they keep justifying it. Mm-hmm. So they'll, you know, a woman will have, you know, an attachment issue. She'll have emotional, she can't find, you know, a good relationship. So she keeps sleeping around. And instead of, you know, going to a therapist or to a pastor and dealing with this thing, she would justify by saying, well, I'm a liberated woman, and you know, this is totally fine to do, and she'd actually flaunt it on social media when actually she's having, you know, an emotional disturbance.
Right.
And we're not addressing that.
You can't even call people whores anymore. You know, if she came to me and said something like that, I'd say, you're a whore. You get yourself together. You can't do that anymore. Because if you're calling somebody a slut or a whore, you're shamed.
Well, I would say that.
So maybe a nicer way would say it would be a loose woman.
Right.
You're a little loose.
Or you at least this particular lady, at least you look like a whore, or you look like a loose woman.
You can't say that. Right. You can't say that. You can't say that. You're slut shaming. You're slut shaming. But I would love for somebody to tell me that. I mean, no, I won't love for somebody, but let me know.
Right.
You know, if I'm doing something, you know, you say, Keena, I don't think you should. You don't look. Yeah. That doesn't look right.
And I think friends should be able to. You know, this whole thing is like, oh, you do you, and whatever makes you happy. If you know, if I'm your friend, then I'm just gonna support my friend no matter what. Like, no, you're gonna support your friend down the grave that way.
Right.
I heard it said this way: if you see your friend about to drive off of a cliff, are you going to let them drive off of a cliff because you don't want them to think you don't love them by saying to them, you don't drive well, pull over, get out, let me drive? And that's where we got it.
Yeah, Maverine, I'm going to have a caveat to that. Now, if I'm the passenger and my friend is hell-bent on driving over that cliff, let me open the door, slow down a little bit, let me open the door and roll out.
Yeah, roll out. All right. On that note, roll out. We have to end the night. This brings us to the end of the show. Thanks for watching. We have several announcements tonight. Again, we're having our party, our launch party to celebrate the official launch of Metro Conservative Media. As I mentioned before, there'll be drinks, music, dancing, live performances, and hopefully you. So again, if you can come out, please RSVP to www.mcmlaunch.eventbrite.com, or you can go right to the Eventbrite website and do a search for MCM Launch. We'll come right up, RSVP, Even if you can attend, but you want to support us, you can still donate right there on that site also. Any donation is welcome. We have the guys show after tonight. Just the Guys is appearing right after us or shortly after this show. So they will provide feedback and commentary of some of the things we've talked about. I'm sure it's going to be lively tonight because most of the guys are very big Jesse Lee Peterson supporters. So I'm sure this is going to be a very interesting show tonight. So you certainly want to stay tuned to that. Am I leaving out anything? Any announcements? Maverine, you've launched a new website as well. Did you want to share that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So just continue to log on to voteformaverine.com because we have not conceded. And we have the need for people who are like-minded to come together because with 700 people, which is what they say I had in votes, with 700 people, that's enough to make a difference. I don't believe that's the case, but we'll take that. And 700 people in this state can make a real difference. And we will continue. So stay tuned on that website. I'm going to be tracking what every candidate has done and what every candidate says he or she will do so that you are informed before you go to the ballot box in November. We cannot walk into that ballot box and not know what legislation is already in play, what legislation they're planning, and what the extreme Democrats are doing to steal our children, to kill businesses, and to destroy our nation.
Excellent. And that's such a good idea because that's one thing. People are not educated. And Shelley mentioned something earlier. We live in a constitutional republic and everybody has a voice. Okay, but be educated. Educate yourself. Be an educated voter. Because honestly, to me, nothing worse than an uneducated voter. Really, I'd rather you not vote. So yeah, excellent, Maverine. Definitely will continue to post your website and people please check back for it to be updated. All right. So again, we have some new people logging on. I just want to mention our party, our event coming up September 17th. Go to Eventbrite, www.mcmlaunch.eventbrite.com and RSVP. Again, stay on here. Shortly after this broadcast airs, we will have Just the Guys. They will broadcast. So they will be talking about Jesse Lee Peterson will be the comment of the night. I'm sure they are going to provide some commentary off of what we talked about because many of them are huge supporters of Jesse Lee Peterson. So definitely I'll be watching that. I will be live commenting on their broadcasts, keeping them on their toes. So stay tuned on that. At this time, that would be it then, guys. So again, continue the conversation by checking us out on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and subscribe. That way you get up-to-the-minute content when we post, and we appreciate the support. We are an independent media, and each time you subscribe, it helps make our voice that much stronger. Again, check us out on our website, www.metroconservativemedia.com. We look forward to seeing you next week. Until then, count your blessings and live a life of purpose. Good night.